Record to the cloud. Okay. So, welcome everyone. Once a month, we have one of our Collaberex members does a workshop. And so this month, we're really happy to have Lynne Rowe here. She's been a longtime member. She's a business coach, um, coaches on strategy and works with entrepreneurs and small business owners really to develop strong foundations that lead their businesses. She also does a lot of developing strategic action plans and sound decision making that really lead to growth. She's been doing this for a while and is amazing at the work that she does and the impact that she has on her clients. So today she's talking about a different topic,
I am. Thank you,
which
Jonathan.
is all related. So
Yeah, it is
welcome,
all
Lynn.
related.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about hiring a virtual assistant as a catalyst to grow your business. And I want to just start with, because I'm a business coach, I see business owners all the time who who are overworked. They're working too many hours. They're trying to do everything themselves. They do all the little things and then they don't have time to do the big things. And they can't grow. They just can't grow because they don't have any time in their life to make a difference, to reach out to new prospects. They just barely have time to do the work that they get. And even if they got more work, they couldn't handle it because they don't have time in their lives to handle more work. So they've really become the bottleneck in their business. And as a business coach, I saw this all the time. And I realized, these people really need help. But there's a dilemma with getting help, right? If you hire someone domestically, it's expensive if you can even find somebody good, but it's very expensive in the United States to hire someone to do some of the more mundane work. It's also expensive, really expensive to hire somebody to do the technical work, to be a tech person for your business. And most small business owners don't have tech support of any kind. So they end up doing things like they'll piecemeal something out. They need somebody to do a website. They need somebody to create something with a graphic design. They need somebody to do some video editing, and it's all those things because they can't do it themselves, or they don't know how, or they're not good at it. Um, and so that's piecemeal, and they're still managing it, right? Because they still have to talk to the person who's going to do all these things. They have to find them, and then they have to get the person to do it, and then they have to approve it and make sure it's right. So they're still doing a lot of work. And then there's other business owners I run into, and they say, "Oh, well, AI can do it all for me. I just have to figure out how to get AI to do it." And the truth of the matter is, AI can do a lot. It can really do a lot. However, somebody has to tell AI what you want it to do. And somebody has to check it and make sure that AI is doing what you're asking for, not what it thinks it wants to do. So even if you're thinking about, I can get AI to do it for me, it can do a lot, especially if it's automations, it can do a lot with that. But if you're asking it to do some other things and be creative and to think for you, that's really hard to get AI to do, to think the way you think. Although I'm working on a few different prompts that will help with that. But the fact of the matter is, you still need somebody to manage the AI. So the other option is to hire somebody from overseas. And that's also complicated, right? You've got to figure out now, how do I find somebody over there? And then there's a lot of pitfalls that you can fall into when you do hire somebody overseas. But getting help is really the only answer. It allows you to leverage your growth. It allows you to take control of your workload. It gives you time to promote your business because you're now not focusing on the little things. You're able to focus on finding new clients and growing the business. And and it also gives you time for your family and your friends and your hobbies and the things you like to do that aren't business, which so many business owners just don't have time for. So let's talk a few minutes about whether you're hiring domestically or you're hiring overseas. How can you make it a successful hire? So the first thing is to be really clear about why you're hiring somebody. It's it should be to free up your time and your energy for higher value work. Okay. So you're not, or I should say higher value work or higher value activities in your life. Okay. So it could be you're hiring somebody so that you can take some time to spend some time with family and friends. Second thing is to start the work off right. So choose things that are repetitive, predictable, and easy to explain while you're building the rapport with the person. Don't just say, I want you to do all these things for me, because you haven't built the rapport. They don't know how you think yet. They don't know yet what your business does. So you can't just hand them things. You have to spend the time to actually onboard them and get them to understand who you are, what your business is, and what you do for the business. You have to set some really clear outcomes and expectations so they know what it is that you are looking for them to do. And then the next thing is to communicate frequently. So here's a tip that I recommend to anyone trying to work now with a virtual assistant or even a local team member that's virtual, that's online, virtually, you're talking to them. For the first few weeks, set up long periods of time, like 2, 3 hours a day, where you're co-working. You get on Zoom together, you give the person an assignment, something you want them to do. They work, and you put yourself on mute, and you can yes or no on the video, whatever you want to do. But they're working and you're working, and it's like you're working side by side. But you can work on your own things, they can work on what you've assigned them. But you're there for them to just break in and answer questions right away. So you're not waiting to answer those questions. They're not waiting to learn what the next thing is for them to do. They can break in and say, "Hey, okay, I finished that. You want to take a look at it? What's the next thing you want me to do?" Right? It's a great way to onboard a new employee who's not sitting next to you in real life, but you're going to make a situation where they are sitting next to you in real life, at least for the first couple weeks. You want to do that a few times a week, even every day is good. I have one client who just does it. She's got a number of virtual assistants at this point, and she does it every day for 4 hours. She's working for 4 hours. The whole team is online for those same 4 hours. And anytime anyone needs something, she's there or one of the others are there helping each other out. So, so that's a really great way to start. A lot of people think, I just want to hand it over to them, make them responsible. And you can't just do it that way. You have to add responsibility gradually. And yes, I truly believe that you're not ultimately you're not just giving people tasks, you're giving them responsibility. You're going to turn the whole responsibility for doing something over to the person you've hired. But you can't just give it to them the first day because they're not ready for it. You're not ready for it. They don't know enough yet. And it will not be successful. And you want to be successful, right? You want to start with those small wins. So give them things that they can be successful at. They can get to know you better. They can get to know your business. And eventually you're going to shift to them owning the tasks themselves. And then the last point about being successful is you have to decide in advance, how am I going to use the time that I now freed up for myself, right? Make sure that you're using it intentionally, that you have now said, now that I've got somebody else doing this piece for me, I have the time to do this thing instead. So very often what ends up happening is you get them doing the work of the business, and then you have time to go out and sell. Or you get them doing all of your marketing for you, and then you have time to go out and sell. Lee, did you have a question? I thought you might because it looked like you turned on your audio. Okay. So decide in advance, what am I going to do with that time? And then make sure you do it, because otherwise you're wasting your time hiring a VA to do the work for you. Okay. Any questions so far?
Hmm.
Okay. So the next question is, what should I delegate? Right? So I'm going to go back a second. I just said, what are you going to do instead? One of my clients said that when she hired the virtual assistant, it took about a month and a half to 2 months. And then she called me and she said, Lynn, I have nothing to do. My virtual assistant is doing all of my work. All I have left to do is talk to new client prospects, right? That's a great place to be when you don't have to do any of it. Um, so what are the things that you should delegate? Well, one of the things that you should delegate is all those things you should be doing, but you don't have time to do or you don't want to do. So for me, that was social media. I am not a social media person. I knew I should be on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, and I should be posting things and doing videos. And I was like, I have no interest in any of that. And it was always eating away at me in the back of my mind, like, I should be doing this, I should be doing this, but I don't want to do this. And I don't, and it's too time consuming, and I don't even want to learn how to do this. For me, that was the first thing I delegated because I didn't want to have to do it. So that's one of the things that you should uh, write down as something I should delegate. So anything that is in the back of your head that you're not doing, that you know somebody should be doing, right? Okay. The next thing I'm going to suggest is that you make a list of everything you do, and especially those little things. So I was talking to a client yesterday, I think it was, and he said, "Well, I don't have time to do any of the work I have to do." And I said, "Well, tell me what you're doing." And he was doing a lot of little things because they needed to get done, and he didn't mind doing them. So he was doing all these little things, but they weren't things that the CEO of the business should be doing, right? So you need to start thinking like, I'm the CEO of this business, and the CEO has certain things that they have to do. They have to set the direction for the business. They have to do the strategic planning. They have to identify maybe the hiring, who needs to be hired, and maybe they have to do the hiring. Those are things, and they often have to be the salesperson. But there's a whole lot of other things that you're doing that don't have to be done by the CEO. So I'm going to put in the chat two documents that will help you figure out um, what you should delegate. So the first document, I, I will pull it up and show it to you while I'm talking about it. I'll share my screen. Oh, you need to allow me to share screen, Jonathan.
Okay, okay. Here we go.
So the first step is to make a list of everything you're doing, including all those silly little things that you do. And then you're going to put it on one of the two sheets I just gave you. Oh, what are you looking at right now? What are you seeing
It
right
is
now?
analyze the value of the work you're doing.
Okay. All right. Um, so you're going to take all those little things that you talked about that you have been doing, and you're going to put down what is the value of that work. Like if I had to hire somebody, if I wanted to hire somebody to do this work, what would I have to pay them? So you will have some things on there that you could pay somebody $20 or less an hour to do. And those go in the first column. The activities and that you have that take less or that you could pay somebody less, $20 or less to do. Okay. Then you have activities, and those can be lots of the repeat exercises that you do. It's maybe CRM, it's maybe sending out newsletters, maybe it's a lot of things that can go into that category. Okay, then there's activities that if you hired somebody to do them, it would cost you a little more, like $100 an hour. That might be somebody to do your invoicing, a bookkeeper, that kind of person might fall into that category. And then there's other activities that you do that are worth $250 to $1,000 an hour. Those tend to be the sales activities that you do. You spend an hour meeting with a new prospect, you get their business, they pay you $1,000. That was $1,000 an hour activity. Okay. And then once you do this, you're going to add up all your hours and you'll find that you have 10 to 20 hours a week that you're doing that could be done by either the $100 or $20 an hour person. Okay. Those are the things you should start to delegate. They don't have to be done by you. They're low value activities. And if you spent that same time doing the high value activities, the ones that are worth $250 or $1,000 an hour, what would be the impact on your business, right? If you spent 20 hours a week, let's say 10 hours a week, okay, let's make it simple. They You were spending 20 hours, now you're spending 10 hours. You gave 10 hours a week to somebody else. And you had to spend some time supervising them, which is why it comes down from 20 to 10, not 20 to 10, but you'll lose some hours there. We'll make it simple, make it 10 hours. Okay, now you spend those 10 hours doing work that brings in more business or is other activities that are worth $250 to $1,000 an hour or more even. Um, what does that do for your business? Not only are you not doing those little things anymore, but that's a huge impact to grow your business. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop sharing that. That's one way to look at it, to try to decide what am I going to delegate. The other way to look at it is this way. Oh, I lost all of you. I don't know where you went, but there you are. Oh, there we go. Okay. Um, all right. You should see how to decide what to delegate to someone else.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So again, you're going to make that list of all the things you do, and now you're going to put them into this matrix, okay? It's a matrix of time and how much you enjoy doing it. So if something is time consuming and you hate doing it, and it still has to get done, that's the first thing you should delegate, right? You don't like doing it, it takes you a lot of time, and why do it, right? The things that are time consuming and you enjoy doing them, well, okay, maybe they can be streamlined, maybe you can delegate. If you're going to end up doing it, schedule it. You know what these things are. You got to do them regularly, so schedule doing them into your calendar. If it's not time consuming and it doesn't and you hate to do it, definitely delegate that. And then the things that are not so time consuming but you enjoy doing them, either get it done or delegate it. All right. So this is just another way to look at your activities and say, what should I be delegating? Okay. So I've given you three different options there. One is, what are the things I should be doing that I'm not doing, but it would make a difference if I did. You can delegate those. The second is to analyze the value of the work that you're doing and delegate those things that are lower value items. And the third thing is to delegate based on time and how much you enjoy doing it. So, and honestly, I think it's a combination of those things. Any questions up to here?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make a comment. The way that I always looked at it is like a business is three parts. It's like a triangle, and on the bottom is like operations and systems and the things that make the business run. And then this part in the middle is servicing existing clients. And on the top is everything that adds value to your
Mhm.
business. And it's new products and services or your selling operations or your marketing or things like that. But things that add value that drive the future growth of the business. And so when a business starts off, there's no middle or bottom part. You don't have any clients, you don't have any systems. You're just creating the value for your business. So those are the things that you want to keep, that you want to hold on to. Things on the bottom should all be delegated. All the systems and operations. The things in the middle, servicing your existing clients, there's portions of that that may be able to be delegated. And everything else, the things that so think about the things that you want to hold on to, and the rest, as much as possible, should be delegated so you can spend your time adding value to the business, which is really the growth driver of your business. Keeps it going. So,
Thanks, Jonathan. I like that. That's another way to look at it. So there is no one way to look at it, but the key is to start with what am I actually doing and what am I not doing that I know I should be doing? Start there. And then any of those ways of evaluating what you should donate, what you should give away or delegate is it will help you. Okay. All right. So let's talk about finding help. So because I was having so much trouble with my own clients and myself, finding assistance that was both affordable and quality assistance, I actually started a business that does this. I have a partner, and we have a partner in the Philippines. So there's a whole bunch of us. We have about 120 virtual assistants overseas. And here's some things that we've learned in the process of doing this. Okay. Um, First of all, it's really important to know whether or not your virtual assistant will be client facing, because if they are client facing, you need to make sure they don't have an accent that's so heavy that your clients will have trouble understanding them. Um, it's hard to figure out how do I even search for somebody overseas. There are lots of search engines, but you never are really sure what you're getting, right? Another thing that's a challenge is technology. When I first hired someone from overseas, we had her for about 3 or 4 weeks. And then she got on the call with us one day and said, "My computer broke. I can't I can't do any work. Can you send me a new computer?" She'd only been with us for a few weeks. That's a real challenge. And that happens a lot with overseas people because many of them don't have the money to buy good quality technology. And so they buy something used and cheap, and uh, they're never quite sure how long it's going to last. Another thing that happens with overseas is um, the internet is not always reliable in a lot of the places because many of the overseas people work from home, and they don't have reliable internet in their location. So that's another challenge. Um, Another thing that comes up, and this is really a challenge that you don't know about until it's really late, and that is they many of the people who you hire from overseas, they work from home because they have someone else to care for at home. Okay, they're caring for children or aging parents or whatever. So they're trying to manage caring for their family and also doing the work, which is difficult for a lot of them. And what often happens is they overextend themselves. They're trying really hard to make ends meet. They're trying to be with the family. They're trying to be with the job, and inevitably they get burned out. Okay, and they start missing deadlines, and they start not making it, not doing what you've asked, or not showing up, or whatever. So it becomes a real challenge. Um, so then another question that comes up is, are they even working? They're not right there. You're not talking to them all the time. Did it really take them 7 hours to do this thing? Or feels like I could have done that in 2 hours. Were they really working that whole time? So that's another challenge with hiring people overseas. And honestly, many of these challenges are also challenges if you hire somebody in the United States virtually as well. Um, Paying them can be a challenge if it's overseas, because then now you have to worry about how am I paying them? What does that do to my taxes and all that? So that can be a challenge. Um, training. Training's a challenge. You don't know whether or not the person you're hiring actually has any training. Do they know how to do what it is you want them to do? They say that they do, and sometimes you can get examples and things, but you don't know whether or not they actually created those examples. So having someone that is trained really makes a difference. Um, and another really big challenge is you can hire a virtual assistant, but they still don't have all of the skills that you need often, you know. Most of the time they can handle, let's say, for example, you hire an executive assistant, okay? And they can handle a lot of the things that you need. But now you need somebody to do some real graphic design. They can do some Canva stuff, but you need some real graphic design that has higher quality. That person doesn't know how to do it. Or you need someone to do some video editing. That person doesn't know how to do it. So you still end up having to hire people for additional skills, right? That they don't, that your person you've just hired doesn't have. Um, and so now I'm going to tell you the business that I've created overseas actually solves all those problems. First of all, we recruit and train our employees. We only hire a tenth of the people who apply. Um, they have to go through a training program in order to stay with us. And in that training program, we always lose a few because they just aren't really up to the task. Um, Language can be a challenge still sometimes. It depends, but if you need someone who's client facing, we always look for someone without too strong an accent. Technology, all of our employees work in an office, our office. We own the office. And they work in the office, so we provide the technology. We provide all their computers. We have tech support so that if something goes wrong, the tech is there. One of my clients called the other day and said, he's an IT manager here in the States. And he said, I want my VA to do something else that she isn't doing now, but the computer she has isn't strong enough to do that. Can I send her a computer? That's what he said to me. Can I send her a computer? And the answer was no, but she'll have one this afternoon. And she did. She had the upgraded computer that afternoon because we have the tech department in the background to take care of it all. Um, our technology over there, we have bank level security, so you don't have to worry about security. You don't have to worry about the internet because it's a business office, so the internet stays really good. I mean, if there's a monsoon, we might lose it, but otherwise it's pretty good. Um, the challenges of supervision, are they really working? Well, they have to come into the office every day. We have supervisors supervising all of the VAs. So there's someone watching. Did they show up on time? Did they do the work they were asked to do? And if they are out sick, the supervisor can often step in and take over. So you're not out, the work still can get done. That does depend on the work that has to get done. One of my clients is a bookkeeper. She has a bookkeeping business. And so when one of her bookkeepers is sick, we really can't step in because of the security reasons. But very often the supervisor can step in. Um, what else? Oh, single person doesn't have all the skills you need. Well, in our case, you can hire the executive assistant, but we have a back office of graphic designers and video editors. And so if you need graphic design or video editing, they can just send it over to the graphic design team or the video editing team, and then it comes back to you finished, right? You didn't have to hire somebody else. Your VA who knows your business shepherded it through our team to get it done. And there's not an extra charge for it to go to somebody else on the team. Unless you start doing a lot of it. Like if you start doing suddenly you need video editing all the time, then that's a different person. But if it's just once in a while, not a problem. So it solves most of those problems that can come up. The other thing is that you work with me. So you don't have somebody you don't know. It's somebody here in the States that that finds the person for you. We obviously we recruit, we train, and then we match you using some using a culture index analysis with your partner so that or your VA so that you have similar work styles or compatible work styles. So there's a lot of things that we do that is very difficult to do on your own if you're just going to hire someone overseas. But all of the things I told you in the beginning about what to delegate, how to delegate, choosing choosing all of it, that's good for anybody you hire at any level, from any place, right? So that's what I have for you today. If anybody has any questions, I am happy to answer any questions that come up.
So,
Linda, they work U.S. hours,
They do. They work
business
US
hours?
hours. Yes. They match your hours. Yep, that's a good question. hmm So they work overnight, and that's actually hard to find when you're hiring overseas. And the
Sure.
reason it works for us is we have 120, a few more than that now, more than 120 VAs over there, and they're all working together, and it's a community now. It's become a community. They all work together. They work the same hours, and they also help each other make sure the home life, the family life is going to work with that, and so they can help each other become uh, overnight workers who still have time for family.
Wow.
It's a
Great.
cultural change for them, but we built that culture. What other questions do I have for you? Or do you have
um,
for me?
one thing that I have done in the past to help translate the things that we need done is by defining what our standard operating procedures are,
Mm,
categorizing them. It could be
yep.
um, invoicing, it could be website edits, it could be marketing, whatever, whatever it might be. And then whenever I would do that particular task, I would create a Loom video
hmm
of me doing it. So it's like click here, do this, add this, blah, blah, and then I would send the Loom video to my VA and say, I want you to write the operations manual based on
Yep.
this.
I highly
And,
recommend that. I
and that
highly
way
recommend that.
they're seeing it live
Yep.
and their operations manual is a reflection of their understanding of it. And
And it
then,
also shows where you have missed something in the process, because you're
yes,
so used to doing it. You say, you go here, click there, and you forgot you clicked something else in the middle that they didn't see. And so you realize, oh, there's a step missing when
yeah,
they try to do it. So I highly recommend that you do just what Jonathan said. You show them how you do it, either with a Loom video or in person, right? And let them create the SOP for you. And
yeah,
ideally, if you have somebody else, have that somebody else then follow the SOP to do it.
right. And then then you review the manual that they created,
hmm
and it's a way of double checking yourself to make
Yep.
sure that every step was included. And as you said, you're delegating. So that's the defined task where you're really delegating the responsibility.
You're delegating the responsibility for creating the final version of it. And you can also delegate the version of making it stay relevant because, especially with technology, things change all the time, right? But once you have a video, when you change it using a video, put the video in your standard operating procedures, um, it's really easy to switch out that video and say, okay, here's a new video because we're doing they've changed the process now. Here's how we do it now. It's really quick and easy for them to do that.
Yeah.
Other questions?
I'm just
Yep.
curious. I'm curious about this. Is it more that you are giving folks very specific tasks to do in a very specific way, a la a Loom video, or is there more if-then thinking that happens? Maybe it depends on the person where they might know a better way to do something that you're asking of them, and they can come back and say, well, you're doing it this way, but you might want to consider this.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer that in two ways. The first is you should always show them how you're doing it first. And then tell them after you've done it my way a couple times, and if you come up with a better way, let me know. Let's talk about it. And very often they do come up with a better way of doing it. The second thing is that after you work with them for a while, you have to communicate to them how you're thinking, right? Why you do it a certain way, what you're thinking about when you do it, because eventually they start to think for themselves if you've got somebody good. So I have one VA who I recently published a book, and when I was getting ready to publish it, I said to her, "Okay, it's going to be published on, very soon. We need to create with a funnel, so people can buy it." And she said, Lynn, I think what you should really add to this now is put a QR code in there with some exercises for them to do. And then they can click on the QR code and get the exercises, and we'll develop a funnel for that. And I was like, I never thought about that. That was great. And we did that. So yes, they do learn not only what you're doing, but they go beyond if you've got somebody good. They'll go beyond what you're telling them to do and start to think for themselves and come back with suggestions to you.
Thank you.
Hmm. But it
Lynn,
is
how about
important. Go ahead, Mark.
Lynn, how about data security? Like in the insurance business, I have people's personal health information,
Right.
banking information, all
Yep.
kinds of stuff that I'm responsible for protecting.
Yeah.
How do you handle that in your business?
So as I said before, we do have bank level security over there on all of the computers. But my clients I have clients who are bookkeepers, and they have a bookkeeping business, so they obviously have to keep things confidential. And I have insurance clients as well. So I always recommend that whatever um, you have on your computer that's protecting, you also put on their computer. So
Hmm.
it ends up with double security.
Okay,
Okay. So
great.
you've got our security, but we also recommend you put your own on there too. And that goes again, that's not just for me. That goes for anybody you hire. You want to make sure you've got that security on there. You also need to make sure that you have an NDA signed by them, right? So all of our team members, they all sign an NDA with us that they won't take it anywhere else. But you should also have an NDA that with whoever it is that you specifically work with,
I
so
see.
that they can't take it somewhere else.
Great.
What other questions can I answer?
Yeah. I also find that when I started with VAs, um, take little bites, start
Mhm.
small. I started
Mhm.
with maybe one task that was a marketing task. And what they would do is they would share. I created a system on, with Google Drive documents, spreadsheets that I'd have them create the spreadsheet to express their understanding and put their results of what they were doing and who they, whatever it was, they would put all the contacts in the spreadsheet and then the follow-up in columns. And it made it easy for me to just track how much was going on, how much they were doing, and whether they were keeping track. And then I could
Mhm.
spot check the spreadsheet and reconfirm that these things were happening.
Yep,
And I mean,
that's a good way to handle it.
I don't know, the relationship that once you build that relationship, um, then I don't know, my VA recently, well, it's not so recent anymore, maybe about a year ago, had a baby. She recruited her husband to do half the work. So now we meet with both of them. And
That's great. That's great.
And she named the baby Jonathan?
mm,
No.
she doesn't like
Okay.
me that she doesn't like me that much.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. But there's also
Hmm.
so Lynn, the question for you is
mhm.
when someone hires you, do they pay you and then you pay the VAs?
That's a good question. They pay me.
Okay.
They
So it's
pay
much
me. So
simpler.
you're paying a U.S. company for a service. You're not paying an employee. And so it goes differently on your taxes. It's a service that you're buying.
Yeah. When I pay my VA, sometimes it's, to find there are certain companies that do foreign transfer.
Mhm.
Um, there's a PayPal company called XOOM, and there's another one called Wise. And but sometimes they don't work so well.
Yeah, sometimes they don't. Um and the other thing is that you also have to file paperwork saying I'm hiring somebody from overseas, which you don't have to do when you work with me because you're not hiring someone overseas, you're hiring a service from a US company.
Hmm.
Having said that, you do get a dedicated VA. You know, we we bring you on and that's your VA. Unless there's a problem or unless, something happens. That's your VA. It's not like we're going to shift around to a bunch of people.
Yeah. Okay. And do you charge based on the number of hours, or do you have certain plans that you
Um,
provide?
I make it really simple. It's two plans. Either you have somebody full-time or you have somebody part-time. I don't, and the part-time is 20 hours a week. So it's either full-time or half-time. We don't do 10 hours a week. We don't do piecemeal. We don't do any of that because it's not good for the relationship and it's not good for the employee. The VA, they do much better if they stick with just the maximum of two people that they're working with. So if you're doing part-time, you either get them in the morning or you get them in the afternoon. So there's no decision to whose work do I do first. There's none of that. It's you get them in the morning or you get them in the afternoon. And it works really well for our clients as well as our team members.
Right. And
Yeah.
is it a long-term contract or a month to
Nope.
month or
It's month to month. You can't come and go. You can't say, I need somebody this month. I don't need them next month. I do need them the following month. That doesn't work because then you'll end up having to shift because we'll reassign that person. As soon as you say I don't need them, we reassign that person. So you can't come and go, but there's no long-term contract.
right.
We just bill you at the beginning of the month or yeah, and that's it for the month. And then the next month. I just need enough time to cancel the credit card if you decide that it's not you no longer need them. So
Yeah, and you help with the onboarding?
absolutely.
In
I
other words, okay, you're a new company and you're saying, okay, so what should I delegate and how do I
absolutely,
exactly
yeah.
figure it out? Because you want to make sure that you're filling their whatever 20 or 40 hours
Yeah.
a week. That you have
Yes.
enough
I
work for that.
I often go through those charts that I just gave you and we look at them and say, okay, these are the kinds of things you should delegate and that will take them X number of hours to do. Um, and so I help you decide what to delegate and that will help us figure out which person to match you with. If what you need is someone to do video editing most of the time, then I'm going to give you a video editing virtual assistant. If what you need most of the time is a graphic design person, I'm going to give you a graphic design person. If what you need most of the time is a executive assistant, then that's what you're going to get. So we have to figure out what you need first, right? And then we find the right VA to match that.
Right. But if let's say you need someone for operations and systems,
Hmm.
but you know that you have to do some big updates on your website every once in a while,
Yeah.
then you can say, okay, I also need, 3 months later, I need to change this page and this page and this page.
Yeah, that fits. If it's a really big thing you need later, then we'll charge you for that time. But if it's just a small thing, usually it's not a problem. We also have callers, trained callers who will call and set appointments for you. And that's usually on a project basis, you get 6 weeks of that or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? You got me here. Ask all the questions you want.
How about operating systems like Google Meet and Zoom and Microsoft versus, sometimes, I mean, I do a lot of business with different clients who all work in different operating systems. And so you have to be a little familiar enough to jump into one or another or work with their docs and stuff. And sometimes a lot gets lost in translation if you're not up to speed on all of them.
Yeah. Um, we'd have to have a separate conversation so I can understand what they might have as their systems. But honestly, our team over there is very agile, very tech agile. They're all even though that's not usually what we're specifically looking for, but they all really get tech. They do tech all the time. And so they're really easy. It's really easy to, if they don't already have it, we train them on it. And very often there's somebody else on our team who can do the training. So for example, I had a couple of clients come to me recently and said, I really need somebody who can do Go High Level. And I was like, great. We only have one person on our team that knows Go High Level. But within a couple of weeks, we had 5 people on the team who could do Go High Level because we trained our own people to know the system. So chances are, if they don't already know a system and it's a common system, we've got somebody who can train them.
Great, thank you.
Mhm. And if it's not a common system, they're techie. You can probably teach them yourself really fast. And they're really, really good at, I don't know how to do this. I'm going to Google and learn how to do this. Or I'm going to go to the website of that software company and follow their instructions on how to do this. They're really good at doing that, learning it because they know they need to learn it. I had one client, she had a very obscure program. And we knew that. So we knew we wouldn't have anybody on team that would have experience with that. But before we even interviewed a couple of people for that position, those 3 people we were considering, they were all training on that program. They were all learning, the basics. Obviously, they didn't know any specifics in her business, but they were training on the basics of the program before she even interviewed them. So, they're really, really good at that kind of thing. What other questions can I answer for you? Either about the way we do it or about how to go about it or, anything.
I'm out of questions.
You're out of questions. Okay. Well, you know what? I'll put in the chat, my contact information. If you have any more questions, I'm happy to have a conversation with you, answer any questions you have. And
And we're recording this, so Collaborex members will have access to the recording. We're adding it to a new section of our website, and there's a private member portal section. You could log in there, and you'll see a drop down that says workshop videos. So
awesome.
this will end up there.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you,
For
Lynn.
those of you in the New Jersey area, I'm not sure how many of you are here. Mark, I'm not sure where you are now. Oh, you're in Florida right now. Well, on what is it, the 30th?
The 30th, yep.
Yeah. On the 30th, we're having an in-person event um,
In Franklin
in
Lakes.
Franklin Lakes. It's a morning. Would love to have you join us. What did you call it? I don't know,
Is
remember what you called it.
right. It's 8:30 to 10. And Our agenda is on science of happiness.
Yeah. Science.
Question that we ask is, does success lead to happiness or happiness to success?
Yeah.
So it will be
So
a
it's
great
honestly,
meeting
it's,
that Lynn and I are co-facilitating.
yep. And it's really a time to just get to know some people. It's not, it's kind of a networking thing, but kind of a, personal development thing at the same time. So meet some new people and join us. Happy to have
Yes.
you.
Great.
Do you have the link, Jonathan, to put that in the chat for them if they want to join us?
I'll send it out. I don't have the
Okay.
link handy, but thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynn, for another
All
great
right.
workshop.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for
It was
joining.
Much
nice to have you
appreciated.
all here.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Okay. Stop recording.